My name is Indi Mclymont-Lafayette. I work with Panos Caribbean, where I am the Regional Director of Media, Environment and Community. I am also part of the Adaptation Fund NGO network. At the international level, the Adaptation Fund board and the NGO network has also been putting in some input on the operational guidelines of the fund, and the fund has been taking that on board. So I think overall the stakeholder involvement process has been very thorough. The fund has to look at making itself more known. I think quite a lot of people still, if they are not directly involved in the circle, might not know what the Adaptation Fund Board is, what it does, or what the fund, how assistance can be gotten through the fund. So I think there needs to be more awareness and engagement. A lot of actions that the communities are taking to ensure that they can cope with some of the anticipated impacts of climate change. So while they might not, if you go into a community, say we are adapting to climate change, but you will see them, for example, some farming communities have now been experimenting with greenhouse farming. Others have, if they are affected by drought, you know, you'll see the houses being built differently, things like those. So you see on the ground some of the adaptation practices taking place. I was quite happy and privileged at the last Adaptation Fund Board meeting to be able to give a brief address to the board, and I thought that was really quite commendable, allowing civil society that level of participation and input. I think also the process calls for quite a bit of stakeholder involvement at the national level, and I think for Jamaica we certainly spend quite a bit of time trying to engage as many stakeholders as possible into the development of the concept that we eventually submitted to the Adaptation Fund. The Planning Institute of Jamaica, which is a government body, has incorporated a multi-stakeholder group that focuses primarily on long-term planning, 2030, it's called the 2030 Planning Committee, and long-term planning on climate change and disaster issues. And so that group has really been the key organizer and having input into the development of the concept that was submitted. I certainly think that there's a great need for more assistance to help people and countries back on the ground, because it really is a devastating experience, and we need to have proper things in place to ensure that these poorer countries can adapt. In Jamaica, the hottest summers, any person on the street can tell you that the summers are hotter than they used to be. Severe flooding, longer droughts, all of those things we're experiencing on a regular basis. Our hurricane season in the last 10 years, every year we get tropical storms or hurricanes. When I was growing up until we had only one in over a 20-year span. So whether you want to say it's climate variability or it's climate change, you know, there's debate about the terms, but small islands will tell you they have no doubt, because they are experiencing the impacts and the changes. I'd like to encourage them to, if they can, learn more about the impacts, the actual climate impacts in small islands as well as some of the key developing countries. I think whether more studies on those impacts or direct exchanges that will enable people to see for themselves what is happening, because it's one thing to read about it and say, it's iffy, but when you're actually there and you see and you experience, that makes a world of difference. And I think those lessons between the two need to be shared more so people really understand how urgent the climate message is.